All right, we're live. Let me go ahead and share this real quick to our personal page and we'll get started. I'm excited. Hope everyone's having a great day today. Let's go ahead and post. We're going to tag everybody. Let's do it. One more. Good. Let's do it. And welcome to the Super Terb Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Terb, your local real estate expert with the Terb Group, Coldwell Banker HPW, aka Super Terb, aka Coach Terb. And I'm here with Jordan Hatch, my partner.
Hey there.
And we were wanting to do our first quarter market update with you guys. I can't believe it is mid-March of 2022. This year's already flying by.
Yeah.
And I thought this would be a great time. We try to break this down quarterly and just let everybody know what's going on. We discussed what's going on in the real estate market. But first, if you are first tuning into our podcast, I started this podcast in the fall of 2020. We are now on episode 44. It's awesome. And we started to talk real estate, business, sports, and beer in the Triangle, mainly to have local business owners, entrepreneurs, agents, you name it, come on, just talk about how they started, talk about their career, their passions, but of course, sprinkle in some real estate tips as well as some sport tips and maybe some local breweries that we like to venture on. So we'll have a great time here. So I'm going to take a quick break. As soon as I come back, Jordan and I are going to dive in and talk a little about the real estate market. If anybody out there has any questions, please reach out and we'll be more than happy to answer the questions you may have. And we will be back on the other side. And welcome back to the Super Terb Podcast. Again, I'm your host, Michael Terb, your local real estate expert with the Terb Group, Coldwell Banker HPW, a.k.a. Coach Terb, a.k.a. Super Terb. And again, to my right, I guess their left, is Jordan Hatch.
Hey there.
How are you doing?
Doing
I thought this
well.
was going to be a great time to come on and just talk real estate. And I know you have some questions for me. And I just thought it would be a great time to help educate the people that are out there. Either they're thinking about selling, they're thinking about buying, and what we can do to help them navigate through this competitive market. And most importantly, put them in position to win. So what you got?
Well,
First of all, Jordan, if you guys don't know, I know I just interrupted her there. She started working with me a little over a year ago. She's my partner. She helps me with majority of my buyer clients. So she's been out in the field. What have you seen that you can share? Maybe that since you started to now, what's the biggest thing that you've seen?
how insane the competition has really risen. So one of my questions was going to have you talk about like what the difference was between this March and last March. But last March was really when I got my feet wet in real estate, and due diligence was still pretty high, but not like today. I remember we were writing offers for due diligence of like 5,000 or even 10. And now it's pretty regular to see 40, 50, or even 100,000 on some of the contracts we've written for people.
No, exactly right. I mean, right now, pretty much due diligence, what we're seeing is almost 10% of the purchase price,
Yeah.
give or take a few grand.
Yeah.
And for people that are listening, maybe you're not in North Carolina or you're new to the market, and we talk about due diligence money just real fast. I know I've gone over it before, but for people that are watching, due diligence money is the money in which you give to the seller at time of contract to do your due diligence in regard. But the caveat there is the due diligence money is non-refundable if you were to not buy the home. So if you terminate for any reason, you lose that due diligence money. Well, when the contract started back in 2011, we were in a different market where the due diligence numbers that we're seeing now was not even close to where we are. And now with the competitiveness of the market, the multiple offers, we've seen the due diligence really skyrocket. And of course, that due diligence money is credited back to the buyers at closing. So that's why when we're preparing to make an offer, first thing we ask is, do you love the home? And then second is, this money you're going to get back at closing. Of course, we go through this right now. You're going to have inspections. You're going to find things wrong with home. But of course, hopefully no deal breakers we're going into, knowing that the age of the roof, age of the HVAC, things that we may need to going in. And of course, we do further investigations, inspections. And then we also take in the fact that the home may not appraise, and having our buyers prepared to pay the difference or restructure their loan accordingly so they don't have to bring any additional money out of their pocket. So just a little bit on due diligence there, but Go ahead.
And going back to appraisals, like whereas before last March, appraisals weren't nearly as scary. Like we were seeing most homes appraised, even though we were going in over ask, we were still seeing it appraised, but now it's almost a guarantee that it won't appraise. So that's part of the reason why we've collaborated with such great lenders who are great at just educating our buyers and letting them know where their boundaries are financially, because you have to be prepared to purchase the home and take it to closing, like you said, with that due diligence. And due diligence is a lot like an engagement ring. You're not going to propose to someone you feel really unsure if you're going to marry. Like you know enough to know that you're going to buy the home. You're going.
I like that analogy. I haven't used the. That's a good one.
Yeah,
I like that one.
You don't just throw engagement rings out there.
No, you don't.
You know what you're getting into.
You're ready to get to the wedding.
Yep.
So I know you asked me about maybe the market between now and last year or what.
Yeah. The changes we've seen.
I'm actually going to go back a year even before that. I think, we covered on this, on the previous podcast. I would let everyone know, I thought it was really eye-opening to see how far our market has gone in the last 2 years, especially pre-COVID. So spring market update, pre-COVID, January of 2020, right? It was the first time that in my career, I'm going into year 16, that I saw in Wake County, our inventory dropped under a 2-month supply of homes. For people that are listening and you hear month of supply, you're like, what does that mean? To put it in perspective, you want about 5 to 6 months of supply of homes to offset the demand and the supply, basically right down the middle. As we came out of the recession in 2016, that's where I started to see confidence in the market. We were just under a 4-month supply then. So we've been going down year after year because the demand was still high. We had people moving here daily, and the builders couldn't build even at that time fast enough. Well, January 2020 gets here. First time that we saw our inventory under a 2-month supply. We're at 1.7. This is for Wake County, where Raleigh is. And our average sales price was $360,000.
Wow.
Okay. And, it was like going into, we didn't know COVID was on our doorstep. COVID hits us in March, actually probably about a week from now. It'll be a 2-year anniversary when things shut down. And if you were 350 and under, you didn't know there was a pandemic. You were still buying, selling. Everybody kind of hit pause. And then, of course, we came out and then the acceleration rates were low. So over the next 2 years, our supply is down 82%. It's just staggering, 82%. So as of our stats, we get our stats a month behind with Triangle LS. So the stats that I'm referencing is January of 2020 to January of 2022. And the stats read that we went from a 1.7 month inventory to 0.3. Yeah. We have less than 10 days of active inventory right now. Yeah. On top of that, our average sales price in January of 2020 was $360,000. And in the 24 months that have followed, our average appreciation has gone up a whopping 37% to where our average sales price in Wake County is $491,000. And now they're projecting another 25% appreciation in this year because, again, we don't have the supply to offset the demand. So as we tell many of our buyers, all of our buyers, you're going to be the new comp when you make this purchase. But we still are encouraging everyone, if you're thinking about buying, to buy now. Rates have started to increase. I think they're around 4.25 now, as well as the prices are just going to continue to go up. On top of that, if you're renting and not sure if you're ready to get in the market, rents are projected to go up by 25% in 2 years. So I'd much rather be able to try to get in a home and build equity myself, for me, versus paying someone else's mortgage down.
Yeah, it's true. So what are you seeing in this past quarter, like since 2022 started to now? How much of a shift have you seen?
I don't know if there was really much of a shift rather than
we're still going
just acceleration. Yeah, I mean, normally, and I say normally, it hasn't been normal in a very long time, but normally when you come out of the holidays, you go into a new year, people are kind of dusting themselves off. They've come out of hibernation. They're just kind of getting ready to either list or buy. February technically would kick off our spring market. People are engaging, ready to get their homes listed for this time of year, March, daylight savings. But I would just say that we've hit the ground running. I think between the two of us, we have 20 homes that we've either closed or sold at 20 homes at this point. Mm-hmm. And again, it's just the urgency. I haven't seen a slowdown. Like in January, February, you and I were talking, it didn't feel like it was winter.
Yeah, it's true. So for all the people who are thinking about facing this crazy market that Witt County has, and they're on the fence, they're not sure if they should jump in or just kind of bide their time, what kind of information do you think they need to know to help them make that decision? Because not everyone can compete in this market.
No, I think what is so important if you're on the couple things. One, for sellers, there's literally no better time to sell. You guys have been hearing us saying that for years now, but literally there's no better time to maximize your equity. But the question is Terb, where are we going to go?
Yeah.
So we can help you with that. If you're wanting to sell your home and parlay that or use that to go into a larger home, maybe you want to dream, your bigger home, or you want to sell and downsize. The one thing that I will tell you is we have a game plan to help you do that. But you also may have to be prepared to move twice. Now, what does that mean?
Yeah.
If you have to sell to buy, you really don't have a chance in this market. Now, you could, in essence, we could still sell your home and we could negotiate a seller possession post-closing up to 59 days if it's a loan, and then try to find something after you sell. But then there's no guarantee the home you want is going to be there. So we're seeing a lot of sellers that are either relocating, they're building, or they're selling their investment properties. For the ones that want to buy, then sell, that can qualify, we're actually seeing our sellers go through get a home equity line of credit or pretty much a bridge loan up front, basically home equity line of credit, because that way they've got because a lot of people's equities in their home. Right. They're going to have that up front. And then that way, then when they find the right home, we can jump on it, then sell their home. It used to be where you could find that home, buy it, knowing you're qualified, and then do your HELOC, everything at that time. But because of the amount of due diligence you have to put down, that's where we really have to coach that. Now, on the buy side, it's just so important that you work with someone that's a professional, that's been in this business. There's so many agents, and there's no disrespect at all. I know everyone's working so hard, but get with somebody that is knowledgeable, experienced, and can help navigate you through this process. And it starts from the very beginning with our buyer consultation. We get a game plan together. I always say Coach Terb. I just did my letter of the heart talking about Coach Terb. I use that, my coaching background, to help get our buyers prepared, in essence, having their own scouting report. And that also then means getting them with a great preferred lender of ours, knowing that they're pre-approved, not just pre-qualified, but they're pre-approved, where there's going to be no surprises during the transaction.
There's not a lot of room for error.
No room for error. And then we also talk about, okay, now you're qualified for 500. Well, that means we probably need to look around 425 to 450. Because of where we need to land. And then we talk due diligence, appraisal scenario. So that's where that starts. But just having all of your stuff ready to go, because when you go out, as I always say, once you start taking off, once you start going down the runway, you're going to take off. But it's having that expectations created up front, where then you don't also see yourselves writing offer after offer after offer, because you're not getting the proper education up front.
Speaking of education, obviously you have a lot of knowledge and experience doing what you do. That's how you have the Super Terb marketing strategy and, and buying strategy. So how do you self-educate about the market and learn these new strategies? Where do you go to learn more about the current market climate and improve? I think
it all starts just knowing your numbers. I'm like a little kid when the stats come out from Tri-Build MLS. I just like to see those numbers. I like to see the inventory levels. It really starts there. Just like the stats that I read off, that's because I read them and I've been reciting them to my clients. As you educate, there's other avenues. There's other articles that you can come across, and there's different, things that for example, WRL just said in the city of Durham, for every home listed, there's 7 real estate agents.
Wow.
But again, a lot of people carry licenses, but the average agent in all of the country sells less than 4 homes a year. So a lot of people have a license, they hang it on a wall, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's what I always tell everyone, this is our business, it's not our job. Yes. And there's a big difference. But I just think educating yourself daily, then transfers over to your clients and being that expert for them on the ground on what to expect, what to do in regards to winning.
I saw a survey recently that asked people what they thought was the number one reason for hiring a real estate agent to help them buy a home specifically. And I just thought it was an interesting question. And I was wondering, I mean, there's obviously a lot that goes into a real estate transaction, but I want to ask you what you think the most important service you offer as an agent helping buyer clients.
When you're buying?
Yeah.
Well, one, if you're looking to buy, as I tell everybody, the listing or sellers are paying the buyer agent's commission.
Right.
So right away, right there, as a buyer, you're not having to pay commission. So what I'd always tell people is, if you don't use me, use somebody. You need to have representation in your corner that's going to go to bat for you, as well as guide you through the process. On top of that is knowing how to structure, well, getting you the right people as far as getting your finances in order, your lending information in order, and then, of course, going and finding the right property. Now the market's different in the fact that it used to be, you'd have the luxury of going to look at 8, 10, 12 homes on a Saturday.
You don't need
Now we have all the listings going live, but 95% of them are coming soon. So we know when the showings are expected to start, but it doesn't mean the home may even be there when you want to go see it. So now we know the homes are there. And then at that point, it's, do you love the home? And then it's a matter of how to put the offer together, package it together to where it's going to be the best for the sellers when reviewing offers. On top of that, the relationships that with the agents, I think a top producing agent in this market is critical to be working with, because I know, for example, when I see a listing, I'd probably say there's a 50-50 chance I know that listing agent or I know of them. And then other agents want to work with other great agents.
It's true.
So that's another facet. But you have to have someone in your corner in this market just to get the advice. But at the same time, that agent also has to be the leader in the fact of saying, this is what it's going to take to get this home. And not many agents right now, just due to the experience, have that confidence to tell somebody, you've got to put $50,000 in due diligence now, and here's why. And then instead, they just start writing offer after offer. The seller, the buyer gets frustrated, they get discouraged, and then the agents also get tired.
Super.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that survey. The top answer that people, like the number one reason people hired an agent, they thought was to help them find a home. And like you said, with such low inventory, that's not so much the issue anymore, but definitely how to be competitive. Because you can find the perfect home, but that does not mean that you will win when you're up against 20 offers.
And I tell my clients, our clients, this. I started to say this. I hate saying. I always say, put you in position to win. As long as our clients do the absolute best they can do, that's all we can do. Just last weekend, we were the bridesmaid, but we put forth the best offer that we could possibly put forward. And I play cards, not as much as I used to, but I like to play poker. And there's times when you may have the best hand, or for some reason or the other, you don't win a tournament or you don't win a hand. Maybe you didn't play the hand well. But I always tell people, in just like writing an offer, you learn rather than lose.
It's true. That's one thing that I like to tell our buyer clients is, at what price are you happy to win this house at, and at what price are you happy to walk away at? And when we don't win it, we're happy because we
did our best. And there's also a difference of that versus, I just want to submit this just to see. Then we're not even doing that. We're not going to play that game, because if you're not fully committed to them, what if the outside chance, which is rare, slim to none, that you got the house and you weren't fully invested or loved the home, but you still have the due diligence that's required to, get to the finish line.
Right. Well, this is kind of a personal question, but out of all the things all the hats that you wear within the transaction and in this business, what's your favorite part about it? What's your favorite part in the transaction that you do? I
think, there's two. When you're on the buy side, there's no better feeling than letting your clients know they need to start packing. Yeah. I think that's the most fun part of the business.
I remember a year ago, I got to tell one of our clients that we won, and I told you right afterwards that was an addictive feeling.
No, it's just a great feeling.
Yeah.
Because you're helping someone, you're helping a family, whether that means they're getting their first home, maybe they're going to another home to start a family, maybe they're getting a home for their grandkids. You just don't know. Then on the sales side, there's no better feeling than helping them accomplish their goals by getting absolute max value, and coming to them with multiple offers and getting the absolute best for them and protecting them in the transaction. I would say those are probably the most favorite. And then, of course, the closing day leap with Terb. Those are fun.
Yeah.
I have a lot of fun. But there's a lot between, as people always will say, and the market has shifted dramatically where, again, you started a little over a year ago. So many homes now that are purchased, or pretty much the buyers understanding the seller's not going to do repairs. Now granted, the contract's written anyway that the buyer's buying the home as is in its current condition, and they can ask. The seller's not obligated. But with the amount of due diligence things you're doing to go under contract, that you don't have much leverage. However, there's still a lot that goes on from contract to close that a lot of the clients don't see.
Yeah.
And that's where I would always tell people it's easy to get under contract per se, but then the contract to close is where you see the real value of a team or the agent you work with.
That is true. And speaking of fun, you guys may not know this, but Terb won the Spirit Award at our office.
I did. You got to have fun.
Have fun.
There's days, though, where you pick me up and, it's not so much it's stressful. And I think the part about the business is you can't control everything.
Mm-hmm.
You can't control everything, and
as much as you want to.
Yeah, because you want everything to go perfect, and it's just we don't live in a perfect world. Mm-hmm. So that's probably the hardest part.
This is kind of a throwback, but I remember when I first started, you told me that you are learning something new every single day in this business.
Mm-hmm.
And I can very much attest to that. But I was curious, what was something very recent that you learned?
Well, every year I have an oh crap moment. Maybe, or like an aha moment.
Tomato.
Starting a couple years ago when we started getting the offers that we were getting.
Yeah.
Last year was the first 50,000 due diligence, check for a seller. Mm-hmm. This year was writing an offer for 115,000 over asking, 60,000 due diligence. And when you submit it, you maybe have a 50-50 shot.
Yeah.
I think that's another aha moment with just what we're dealing with. But you're constantly learning because every deal, this is my nephew, you're the man. Every day you're learning, something new. Every transaction, whether it's new construction, resale, you're constantly doing something and you're constantly learning. And that's a great point. And this brings up a great topic. And I talked with Mark Parker, our broker in charge this morning.
Yeah.
Is about seller possession post-closing agreements. Okay, for people that are listening, this is becoming so common now because sellers, again, have the leverage, the seller's market, and many want to close, then have the opportunity to take their time to move out, whether they're moving to out of state, building. So I'd probably say 75-80% of transactions now have a seller possession post-closing. So my question to Mark was, how do we handle transition? Because on a technicality, it's the sellers are still living there, who become now the tenants. The buyer buys the home, and now as the landlord, my question in this morning was, are you able to have a key as a buyer? Are you able to take the key with you? Because I want to make sure I'm educating our clients correctly. I don't want to misspeak. And he checked with Roger, our in-house attorney, and yes, the buyers have every right to a key. Yeah. And of course, they can't go into the home. Obviously, they can't just show up. It's like a normal lease. Right. But those are the conversations that we have to start having with our clients because they may think, what do you mean they get a key? Well, they're now the new homeowner. So that's probably the biggest thing that we're seeing in our marketplace that's just becoming so prevalent. And it's just important to have everybody on the same page.
Got another hard question.
All right, I like hard questions.
Do you have a hot take or an unpopular opinion about real estate, either as a market or as a professional in the field? Like, is there a common perception or opinion that you honestly just disagree with? I think, and it's no fault to people that are on the outside looking in, because just like they have a business or profession or they have a job that they do, I don't know what they do daily. Right. That's a popular thing now with TikToks of people in their profession showing videos of behind the scenes. Yeah, they don't understand everything that goes into it. Yeah. But I would probably say the only thing that, and again, it's no fault to their own, is that they look at just at agents as a commodity. Like, I just need you to put a sign in the ground. I just need you to get in the door. Mm-hmm. And they don't understand the human element of that and what we do that working so hard. Mm-hmm. And I'll be the first to admit,
I mean, right now, you price a home correctly, you should sell your home. You can put a sign in the yard, but then are you getting max value though when you do it? What kind of game plan are you doing? How are you pricing it? Right now, at the same time, you just need two ways of marketing: a sign in the yard and MLS. When I go on listing presentations and people bring their fans, I don't do that. Anywhere you can be, it's 2022. Anywhere you can be found. When we go on MLS with syndication, you can be found.
Yep.
The photos are everything. Whether you're doing virtual tours or what have you, but the photos, the aerials are everything because of people wanting to make offers sight unseen. Or if they have the opportunity to go in a home, it's really a second showing at that time. They've seen enough to go in. But I would probably say that's the biggest thing, is that anybody could do this profession. And sure, you can get a license, but there's a reason why 87% don't make it to their second year.
Yeah, and to build off of that, like something that you and our team does very well is, you put pretty packaging on a house. You know all of the right people to best advertise it. Like, yes, the sign in the yard is important in the MLS, but we've got a great photographer and just great listing specialists to help us in that way. And also, I've seen you do some pretty interesting maneuvers when negotiating offers on the seller's behalf.
Yes.
I remember one time I about fell out of my chair the way that you just handled this one particular, not to get into any details, but it was very impressive. It was something that really only someone who had a lot of experience.
I think you saw that. I know what you're talking about.
Foothills,
yeah, I think that when you get multiple offers, everyone's under the assumption that you have to just pick that one offer. You can take all the offers, and one may have the best price, one may have the best due diligence, one may have the best close date. I think the number one strength of it is, of course, due diligence, and then, of course, financing. And then I also look at who the other agent is.
Yeah.
I know who I want to work with. And then I put it together, and I do what's best for the seller. And then right now, if you want it, you have every reason to be able to counter and give someone an opportunity to accept. If they don't, we'll go to the next one.
It's true.
We have a question here. Eat your uranium is there, but thanks for the question. Any time frame for the Apple building, the Raleigh-Durham campus? Any predictions about impact on market? That's actually a really good question. I think when we heard of Apple coming, I want to say that it was going to be within the next 10 years. However, that was starting last year. As far as the transition, as far as the expected completion, I'm not 100%, but again, I've heard 10 years. The market already, as soon as they announced, we already saw the market shift.
We saw someone offer on our listing 7 figures cash almost a week after we heard the announcement.
That's what I was going to get at, is I think just a couple of years ago, the luxury market wasn't as popular, wasn't as flying off the shelves as we say. When Apple announced that they were coming, that was the biggest change that I've seen. And then we, especially from like the West Coast, California, and where they're seeing our prices for a luxury listing from where they're moving, it was just almost like instant. And so now you want to have a luxury listing. You still have to price it right. And when I mean luxury listing, I'm probably saying 800,000 plus, 700,000 plus in our market. But now it's becoming 7 figures. But yeah, we've already seen the effect of Apple. We have Google. We have other, we have Research Triangle Park right here. So we're already feeling that effect of people. We have over 70 people moving here a day. And that's another contributing factor of our low supply. And we got Lisa saying the quote. Lisa giving us a shout out. Thanks, Lisa. You're the best.
Yes. I've got one last question.
All right.
What is something that you would tell Terb 15 years ago? 15 to 16 when you first started.
Wow, 15, 16, that'd be when I started. So we didn't even, I remember Colleen made fun of me. Colleen's my sister, because I had a flip phone and a BlackBerry.
Wow.
Because the BlackBerries were out. That was when I remember Colleen going, you really want to you can do emails from your phone? I'm like, sure. But the BlackBerry reception wasn't very good. So I was that guy. I had to flip and the I would probably say there's a couple things. One, just trying to do the best you can and detach yourself from the outcome. Meaning, again, we can't control everything. We got to do the best we can for our clients, have them options. We're going to do everything we can for them. But at the end of the day, we can't control appraisals. We can't control buyers that we're not working with. We can't control, like I said, appraisals. or status of loans or job changes. So that's one. And then two, I wish I embraced, as this may sound silly to you, but I wish I embraced social media a lot faster. The iPhone came out in 07. That's when really real estate shifted completely in regards to the consumer having the information. Before that, they had to reach out to you. They had to call you just to get a price. They didn't have access to MLS. And then when they got access, when the consumer has access to MLS, and of course your smartphones, that changed everything. That changed the dynamic. But I didn't really embrace social media till about 2018. And I just kind of wish if I did it a few years earlier, because now social media, which I love, it's so saturated, but you still have to continue what you do. But I think I saw a stat from one of my coaches where there's 50% more people on social, but half engaged. So that's why you see views down and it's because of that. However, I know when I really made an effort to market on social, our business tripled. Because again, it's not so much being the agent, it's being the expert, it's being able to feature people, local businesses, feature things that are coming to town. The person that that people want to go to know what's going on.
You want to be mayor of the town.
That's it.
You want to know everything.
Yep. That's it. I mean, this was actually a really good show. I had a lot of fun. I usually don't get to do all the talking, so this was fun. But I figured it was good to know, just let everybody know. And I think one thing I want to address, okay, we just finished the first quarter. What's up next for 2022? I think nothing's changing. Rates are going up. We obviously have an international issue right now with Ukraine and Russia, which we have no control over. But of course, people react to that, which they should. We can only handle what we can do every day, what we can control. But I will say we can't. What's not going to change is the supply issues and the demand issues. And even though rates are going up, it may push some buyers out of the market. But for the most part, guys, a 4.25 rate is still amazing. I bought my home in 2010 and had a 4.35 rate down from 6, and I thought that was the best thing ever. And I didn't refi for 10 years. So who knows what's going to happen in regards to the rate front. I'm sure they'll continue to rise slightly. However, I don't see the market conditions changing for 3 to 5 years. Because, Terb, what happens if there's a shift? Well, if there is a shift, we have so little inventory that it's going to take a very long time, even if the properties are distressed, to get on the market to offset the demand. Now, sure, I see pricing plateauing. We can't sustain a 20-25% appreciation yearly. But eventually we will plateau. But I think by this time next year, our average sales price could be hitting almost $600,000 in Wake County, which I never thought would come out of my mouth. And that's where we are.
In such a short period of time, too.
Yep. It's we're living through it. But at the same time, if you guys have any questions, even after this podcast, this video here on social, just reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to answer any questions you have. If you like the podcast, please subscribe there on Apple, Spotify. We really appreciate your support and referrals. You can leave a comment. Anything you want to finish off by saying?
No, we're just really excited to be helping people in our community. So if you know someone that needs help navigating this craziness, we would really be honored to help them.
That's fantastic. Yep. So again, it's Michael Turbot, Jordan Hatch with the Out of Timber Group, Coldwell Banker HPW, and we're signing off. We'll see you on the next Super Terb podcast. If you're thinking at all, want to be on the show, maybe you're a local business owner, you're an entrepreneur, an agent, you're a coach, doesn't matter. I would love for you to come on, tell your story and what drives you. So again, until next time, remember, who you work with matters. See ya.